Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Redhead. I'm the MLA for Thompson. On behalf of the Manitoba government, I want to honor the sacredness and the importance of this land and the ancestors that once walked where we are standing today. The Anishinaabe, the Inuit, the Dene, the Dakota, the Métis, the Inuit, and the Anishinaabe nations have all paved the way to what is now known as Manitoba, home to all treaty people. The reason we share this information with you all is that it is a reminder of our treaty histories and the original homelands of all these nations, which have become home to all of us here today. As a resident of the North, like many northern Manitobans, I have experienced firsthand the devastating effects that wildfires can have on forests, communities, and families. With climate conditions changing, these effects will only increase year after year. This is why I'm so proud to be part of a government that recognizes the challenges we are facing not just today, but for many years to come. So to start things off, I would like to invite to the podium the Premier of Manitoba, Premier Wab Kinew.
We're here to announce that we've secured 3 brand new made-in-Canada water bombers. Budget 2025 invests $80 million, and we're making the down payment so that we'll have these planes there to fight fires in Manitoba, but also so Manitoba can be a good neighbor and help our neighboring provinces and territories during their time of need. And as our colleague Eric Redhead was just saying, both as a resident of the North, but also as a leader of Shamattawa and the former Grand Chief of the AMC, he knows firsthand the impacts that we see. Last year, we had an early start to wildfire season, and I want to thank all of our wildfire fighters here in Manitoba, as well as the great young people who came out from Ontario to lend a hand, and from other jurisdictions as well too. And all the hardworking people here at Babcock who keep the planes in the air and who make sure that we can respond when they're needed. Here in Manitoba, we know full well the impact that wildfires can have. Every year we see some impacts, and some years there's huge devastation to businesses, to properties, and to people. People displaced, people forced to leave their homes, in some cases for extended periods. And being able to have that quick response during wildfire season, to be able to have eyes in the sky, to be able to have water bombers at our disposal, it's absolutely critical. This is essential for us to be able to keep you safe here in our province. Earlier this year, we also saw our neighbors to the south in the United States have a lot of needs when it came to wildfires. And I was very proud to see Canadians join the response. Even here in Winnipeg, we had one of our own firefighters from the city, Romeo Petit, extinguishing fires that were threatening homes in California. And so no matter what's going on with the politicians between our two countries, we're still going to be good neighbors, and we're still going to be there to help during times of need. And so this investment that we're focused on here today, it's about investing in ourselves as Manitobans and Canadians. We're investing in the people who are the front lines of the response during wildfire season. We're investing in the equipment necessary for people to do those jobs safely. We're investing in our ability to be good neighbors and to help to the response for territories and provinces to the west, to the north, to the east during those times of need. And maybe best of all during this current moment, we're talking about made in Canada planes. And so it's an investment in our Canadian economy. So very proud to be here today with the folks who lead the charge and to make sure that these impressive feats of engineering are maintained to the highest specifications and standards. And very proud to tell Manitobans that we're going to be there, not just this year or next, but for wildfire seasons into the foreseeable future, to keep you safe, to keep your homes protected, and to keep our economy moving forward. Miigwech, merci. Thank you very much.
Hey, what's it, Premier? That's certainly exciting news. On behalf of the people of the Thompson constituency, I would like to thank you for your continued support for the North. That was a Premier. I would like now to invite to the podium the Minister of Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures, Minister Ian Bushie.
Thank you, Eric. As Eric mentioned, my name is Ian Bushie, Minister for Natural Resources, Indigenous Futures, but also as a member of the Hollow Water First Nation, who's seen firsthand what water bombers can do for your community, what the Wildfire Service can do for your community to protect, to preserve, and save, in some instances, your communities and your livelihoods. So it gives me great honor to be able to stand here and talk about what we want to do as a proactive measure to enhance and really build up the capacity of Wildfire Service and the protection of Manitobans here. For me, this hits very close to home. I was also in my younger years as a young adult an EFF firefighter as well too, who's seen firsthand what these water bombers can do. Also in my own family, my father, initial attack officer with the HELTAC service, and my community has a lot of members and a lot of residents that are on the front line, just like members that are standing here today of the Wildfire Service, to be able to see how we can work together and see the effects that these water bombers have. So for us as a government, this is a very proactive approach that we want to be able to take to stand up the Wildfire Service, to show our support for the protection and the preservation of what we have here in Manitoba. Our natural resources are in abundance. So it's also about being able to protect and preserve that abundance that we have, but also with the safety of Manitobans at the heart of all that conversation as well too. So it gives me great pleasure to be able to stay here, and I want to say a big thank you to the Premier for announcing our investment in this service, to be able to stand up and take a very, again, proactive approach to this as well too, knowing full well that when we have our water bombers, and they're going to be here for decades to come. So there will be another young man like me who is out there who's going to have the conversation saying, yes, this was a fantastic investment and we could take this forward. And I want to shout out Earl Simmons here as well too, as part of the Wildfire Service, to be able to speak to exactly what that means for them on the front line, what this means for protecting Manitobans, and what this means for the investment and the future of Manitoba. So again, I'd like to say thank you to the Premier for the announcement, and I'd like to say thank you to all Manitobans. And that's who I want to speak to directly here in my last moment, is Manitobans. We are here for you, we're here to protect you, and we will continue to invest in you, the front line of Manitoba. Miigwech.
Thank you, Minister Bushie. I would now like to invite to the microphone someone who many of you may already know, Mr. Earl Simmons, the Executive Director of the Manitoba Conservation and Wildfire. Mr. Simmons?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here to be part of the announcement of the purchase of the 3 new 515 water bombers, which are the only purposely built water bombers in the world by Canada Air, a Canadian company in Calgary, de Havilland Aircraft of Canada Limited. This is a monumental commitment by the province of Manitoba, specifically Premier Kinew, our Minister Bushie, and the rest of the cabinet. So thank you so much. Thank you. These next generation water bombers, ideally suited to be used in Manitoba's 100,000 lakes, are critical to keeping Manitobans safe in the future as the frequency of wildfires increase along with the intensity and the season length. Oops. These next generation aircraft are not only important to keep all Manitobans safe along with their property and forests, but keep our dedicated firefighters on the ground safe who ultimately extinguish the fires. We must acknowledge all their hard work on the fires across the province, spending up to 24 days away from their families. We are fortunate to have a Premier who listened to our concerns of the Wildfire Service by investing in these water bombers and the Fire Center in Thompson, along with the rest of the wildfire program. As our minister who knows firsthand, Minister Bushie knows firsthand the challenges of being a firefighter on the ground. He truly understands how hard the work is and the importance of a robust water bomber fleet. The 3 new 515 water bombers will be replacing the aged out CL-215 water bombers. While these were first generation water bombers, continue to keep Manitobans safe, the aircraft are near the end of their life with engines that were developed in World War II. The new water bombers will keep the air crew and ground crew safe while improving response times to fires with the ability to bomb fires with larger capacity of water. Also, as the Premier spoke on, we can help out our neighboring provinces with mutual aid agreements that we have with the provinces and territories, as well as the United States. And Mr. Redhead spoke about northern Manitoba. These new planes are so much faster to get into the communities of the north to keep the folks safe in northern Manitoba. So, thank you again to the Premier and Minister and the rest of the Cabinet for investing in the Wildfire Service, specifically the 3 new water bombers, and advancing the Thompson Fire Center project along with the extra funding for the Wildfire Service. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Are you okay with removing your upcoming big day?
Sure, I'd be okay with that. Thank you very much.
He's the last speaker. Yeah. Okay. Maybe right before we go to Q&A.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. I would also like to thank you for the many years of service. And finally, I would like to invite someone who knows the technical details of these aircraft better than anyone. An engineer for Babcock, Mr. Richard I'm sorry, I'm gonna get it wrong. I'll let you introduce yourself, but Mr. Richard here with Babcock. Thanks. Sorry about that. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon and welcome to Babcock Canada, everybody. Okay, just a little bit of a background on the 215. It was starting to be manufactured in 1969 all the way until 1990 by Canadair, and they produced 125 of these aircraft. Manitoba currently has 3 CL-215s, which are maintained by Babcock, as we first talked about, and have been in service in Manitoba for nearly 40 years. Now, they have been proven reliable in their existence, but now we see other challenges with operation. For one, it's an aging airframe. Essentially what that means is the airplane can only take off and land, pick up water, and drop it so many times before we see inspection criteria increasing, component overhaul due to time limits and time or life limited components that are actually basically just thrown away after a certain amount of cycles or hours on the aircraft. The R2800 radial piston engines are another challenge. They require a lot of maintenance for the amount of operation that they actually endure, and support, just as an example, for these R2800 engines are becoming very minimal. Essentially, there's not too many repair facilities and overhaul facilities that actually can look after these engines. Aircraft parts in general, they're becoming more difficult to procure because of obsolescence, and we're seeing that quite a bit with the 215. And I'd like to switch over to the 515 capabilities and some of the differences between the two aircraft. With the investment of the DHC 515, it arrives with a more advanced technology, including a new avionics package in the cockpit, a new water drop system capabilities list, including new drop computers, a more reliable and set of more powerful turbine engines, which will require less maintenance than the radial 215 engine currently operates. It has an increased fuel capacity for longer range and more effectivity and more water drops on the fire. As Earl has mentioned here, an increased water capacity, which means it actually can drop more per drop. Less downtime for maintenance in general. The less time that the airplane is actually on the ground, the more time it actually spends in the air and provides that service for Manitoba and surrounding communities. And ultimately, it will enhance Manitoba's wildfire fighting capabilities for the next so many 30, 40 years is what we're trying to, and to help out communities in Manitoba. Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to add one more thing as we're about to go into questions, and I'm sure there'll be many questions for Earl, Wildfire Earl, as he's known in some quarters, and because the media know him quite well, having done a lot of public service updates over the years. He's actually going to be retiring soon. And so before we sign off today, I wanted to publicly take the opportunity to thank Earl for his years of service to the province of Manitoba. You've made this province a better place, and you've helped keep so many Manitobans safe. So on behalf of everybody, thank you, and we wish you all the best in what's next.
Yeah, of course.
Well, everyone, thanks for coming. That concludes the formal portion of our announcements. We are now going to open up the floor to media for questions.
The final cost is currently under negotiation, and so we don't want to compromise the negotiation by announcing it publicly here, but it will be north of 80 million. 80 million is a down payment.
Yeah. The current fleet in Manitoba, we currently maintain 4 CL-415 aircraft like the one behind me, as well as 2 CL-215s with 1 215 backup, so a total of 7 plus 3 bird dogs. 7 water bombers, yes.
So we're going to maintain the fleet of 7 water bombers. We're replacing the 3 CL-215s.
Bien, la saison de feu de forêt, c'est toujours un grand défi pour notre province, mais nous avons des Manitobains et Manitobaines exceptionnels qui travaillent, qui luttent contre les feux. Et puis cet investissement aujourd'hui, ça nous préparons pour l'avenir. Nous avons besoin de la meilleure technologie, de nouvelles technologies avioniques pour lutter contre le feu. C'est un fait qu'il y a des avions qui sont déjà très aînés, on pourrait dire peut-être, et c'est temps de faire des investissements pour ce qu'on pourrait appuyer les personnes qui font cette merveilleuse travail pour nous avec la meilleure technologie du monde qui est fabriquée ici dans le Canada.
It's very difficult to predict now, but I can tell you, compared to last year, northern Manitoba and western Manitoba is a lot better because the snowpack was a lot higher, and it'll help rejuvenate the water levels in the lakes and the rivers. Eastern Manitoba was kind of quiet last year for forest fires. We're starting to get some forest fires there this year already in the municipalities where we went and assisted them. So that'll be our first area of concern. One of these gentlemen over here, air attack officers, are going to be doing a flight this weekend to check on ice conditions to see when we can get our water bombers out. Of course, we need open water to pick up from the lakes and rivers, so they're going to be doing an ice flight to check on conditions. So, thank you. Absolutely no concern at all in terms of our fleet of 7 water bombers. We're confident with the maintenance by Babcock Canada and the support from de Havilland to give them parts that the older 215s will keep on working for the coming years. And the Premier and the rest of the cabinet's proactively ordering the water bombers so that we're ready when it's time to retire those water bombers. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. Thanks, Earl. So what happened here is that Heather Stephenson gave these big dollar contracts to her campaign manager while they were working on the last election campaign together. She was the head of the government at the time when this decision was made, and our minister was concerned enough about this that they wrote the Auditor General. And so the Auditor General, you know, if I tell you that, Heather Stephenson, when she was a premier, gave her campaign manager these big dollar contracts, what do you think? Well, we're going to let the Auditor General get to the bottom of it. I don't know that that's a correct question. Yeah. You know, our minister had concerns here, and she's asked the Auditor General to look into this, and we're going to make sure that your taxpayer dollars are being used wisely. Today, we're here to talk about a good news story. We're here to talk about investing in the future of the fleet to keep Manitobans safe during wildfire season and to allow us to help our neighboring provinces and territories too. Yeah, I think this is an issue where a lot of what is in the HBC archive is of a public interest. We're talking about the history of Canada, we're talking about the history of the relationship with Indigenous peoples in this part of the world. We're talking about a company that's been around for hundreds of years, so there's a lot of public interest here. What I think should happen is I think HBC should give these items of public interest to the public. And so hopefully, you know, the various forces at work here as part of this bankruptcy process will make sure that that happens. I saw the letter from AMC. I think their Grand Chief is, well, first of all, I think the world of her, but I think she's making some really good points here, and I'd hope that the process plays out in a way where these things that really do matter to our shared history and to the public, that they do make their way into the public domain. Right. Yeah, I think, so it's my sorry, I talked over you for a second. Without driving up the price of the auction. You'd be surprised what a charter could fetch on the open market, apparently. You know, I think that there's a process playing out right now, and you've seen the federal government, you've seen the Assembly of Manitoba chiefs weigh in. And I'd hope that the people who are overseeing this process make sure that the public good is protected. When I'm looking at this on behalf of the Manitoba taxpayer, we know that these things are in the public interest, so why doesn't HBC just give them to the public? Why do we have to intervene to pay money to an American hedge fund or somebody else who's going to be in the lineup of creditors, and then that money's not going to go to actual people working at the Bay? It's going to go to some, rich people somewhere. To me, I'm not crazy about that opportunity. So I think like the most straightforward thing is, like, I'm not going to rule out anything on behalf of the province getting involved, but the most straightforward thing is you have a process that's playing out in public. Why don't they just make sure that these things that matter to the Canadian people, to Canadian history, to First Nations, to Indigenous people, why don't they just make sure that those fall into the hands of the public so that we can continue to learn from them and, have that history preserved? Tout ça ou juste peut-être une partie? Alors, pour nous, il y a un intérêt public, c'est-à-dire l'histoire du Canada, l'histoire des peuples autochtones, l'histoire de la compagnie de la baie d'Hudson. Et pour moi, j'espère, en tant que le Premier ministre du Manitoba, que cet intérêt du public sera sauvegardé par ce processus qui est maintenant en train de dérouler dans le public. Okay, merci encore. Thanks so much, everybody. And one more time, put our hands together for Earl. All the best, eh?